Well then, Harry, how difficult is it to narrow everyone that's ever played sport from Yorkshire into 30 people?
Well, I'll tell you something, Richard, it was a real difficult selection in the end, because I've gone from 1 to 30, and I've done them in the order that I think I regard them as my true sporting heroes. So I had an initial list off the top of my head of about 100, and I've culled that to 30. And I've tried to make it a cross-section of sports, and I've also tried to have a story about each of them. That was the criteria for me, that I had some kind of connection with them, whether it was from Look North, Radio Leeds or Grandstand, and that was the basis of my selection process.
Now, were there any difficult situations where any players or sportsmen who just about crept in, or ones that you missed out with thought?
Yeah, definitely. There were a couple of difficult decisions to make, actually. My passion is cricket. I love my rugby league as well, as you probably know, and I love my football. So they were the three main sports that had to sort of take pride of place. But there are other sports I've covered as well, of course, and I've gone back to swimming and Anita Lonsborough, and also I've looked at one or two other sports as well, like Peter Elliott in athletics. In the rugby league side, there were lots of people who could have so easily got onto the list, people like Alan Hardesty. But in the end, I had to be fairly ruthless, and I've gone on those that I've a story to tell about, and that's what made me look at it very, very critically in that regard.
We were sat here at Headingley overlooking the cricket ground. There's the rugby ground to the side of us. You could probably have done 30 cricketers and 30 rugby league players.
Easy. I mean, just look around you, Richard, if you get the chance today before the launch actually starts, and you'll just see this is the Legends Suite. I mean, the history that's on the photographs here is just phenomenal. You're overlooking the best test arena in the world. For me, with the new stand going up, it's a beautiful day, and it's like being in paradise. I can imagine that would be like that if I ever got up there.
It is quite awe-inspiring. Now, who were the people who first got you hooked into the world of sport?
Well, strangely, I suppose really I go back to my school. I went to school in York, and my cricket coach there was a guy called David Kirby. He sort of cemented my passion for cricket, which has always been my number one sport. But also, I suppose, too, when I look at the broadcasting side of things as well, when I first started broadcasting at Radio Leeds, I had to cover rugby league, which I'd never covered before, and that became a passion as well. So all kinds of things were developed in that regard.
Did you get thrown in the deep end sometimes?
Yeah.
When I started, not too long ago now, but we had in Wakefield a rugby union club, which we don't have anymore, and my background was in rugby league, so that was quite interesting, trying to commentate on rugby union without having much of an idea of what was going on, but it's a great challenge.
Well, you know what it's like, at Ridings, you're exactly the same as I was. You are, yes, you like to specialise, but the reality is you've got to cover other sports. There's a good chance at some point you'll have to do a hockey item. Wakefield's got a great hockey club there as well. So that's the way we do, and you develop, and then your interest develops as a result of it. I mean, rugby league became a real passion of mine, still is. I love the game. I still present the Super League show as well. But you're a jack of all trades, and I've covered ridiculous sports. I covered tiddlywinks once for the Oxford and Cambridge sports extravaganza for Grandstand. I did it for Grandstand. I've covered judo. I've covered wrestling. I've covered archery. I've done commentaries on these things all around the world. So, I don't proclaim to be an expert, but for a moment in time, you are.
It's the element of convincing people that you're an expert when...
Exactly. You've got to have the good patter, Richard, which I'm sure you have.
If you look, if you had to write this book again in 30 years' time, is anyone around today who you think could get into another book?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would now turn round to you and say that these are all heroes that have all stopped playing. That's the key to it. And some, sadly, have stopped playing, but are playing up in that great playground in the sky at the moment. So that was the criteria for this one. Yeah, I mean, I could do a modern one, and the person who I spring to mind now, I think is going to be an absolute superstar, is Jessica Ennis. I think the world heptathlete champion. She's got everything. She's a beautiful looking girl. She's got so much style and class, and she's going to be a world star. She really is. She's a fantastic person as well.
Especially being from Sheffield, and the Sports Personality of the Year has been held in Sheffield.
I mean, we're voting. We're pushing like mad for her to win it. I hope she does.
Yeah, I think she's one of the outstanding candidates this year.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think if you look at the other sports men that get put forward to in sportsmen, of course, you look at the Jensen Buttons and these people, but they all have amazing technological help where it's her on her own, really.
So the physicality of it. I mean, I suppose if Andy Murray had won something, he would definitely be knocking on the door, but he's not there yet, and he's young, and he will win something. He's going to win a major at some point, so he'll be down the line a little bit. The only other contenders are usually footballers, but there's been no great footballers. So Jessica, for me, is the outstanding candidate at the moment. She's the one to beat.
If we look back then at these people, who was the main people who stick out when you've written this book?
Well, I've done it in order. I've done it from 1 to 30, and I can remember Bill Bridge of the Yorkshire Post said to me, "I bet Boycott's number 1." Everyone knows I'm a great fan of Geoffrey. He isn't. It's John Charles, the great Leeds United player. I never saw him play in his pomp, but when you get people like Jack Charlton and Bobby Charlton saying this was the greatest player they'd ever seen, I think you've got something special there. And he was such a lovely man as well, and he ran out of money at the end, and it was a very sad way, because this guy would have been just a god in this day and age. He would have been able to play. Imagine the ball comes over, you're heading a cannonball, because that's what they were like in those days. They were just not like the soft ones now. He'd have scored 10 times the amount of goals, because it would have knocked your senses with that ball when you headed it. So he was a great one. I'm also rather surprised Boycott's number 2. I put Brian Close at number 3, because I think Brian Close has been one of the most undermentioned of cricketers of all time. He was here at Headingley, where he managed to get together the most grumpy set of Yorkshire folk and make them into an absolutely astonishing cricket team. How do you keep peace with Freddie Truman, Geoffrey Boycott, Ray Illingworth, some of those characters there? And it's great to be able to be here to reflect on Brian Close. Obviously others pop to mind. Freddie Truman, great guy as well, and he was my hero of a fast bowler, because I used to think I was a fast bowler, but he was my hero in terms of athleticism.
I guess the advantage the legends of the past have is that, unlike, say, Darren Goffel or someone today whose every moment is captured on film, these people are mostly only remembered in the memories of people who actually watch them. So over time, I know certainly to me the great Wakefield team of the 60s has been their story's been told to me time and time again, and their legend grows and grows as the years go by, which is an advantage the people of the past have over the people of today.
No doubt about that. I mean, Neil Fox is one of my heroes. He's here today. Don Fox, sadly, is no longer with us, but his family are coming here today as well. And these are people who, again, you're talking about kicking a football, kicking a rugby ball. Well, the technology now is such that those balls are easy to kick. You've still got a skill to get your goals, etc. But the ones that Neil Fox kicked were, again, like kicking a solid mound of rock when they got wet. And his skill was an astonishing one. He was a great player, was Neil Fox. He did so much for Wakefield Trinity. And I'm so chuffed that he's coming today as well.
Who were the people, or would you like to name any of the people who just missed out? Who you
I didn't.
Missed out?
Yeah, I didn't put in Seb Coe, who's obviously got a very strong Yorkshire connection, but I didn't think his connection with Sheffield was quite as significant as should have been. I mentioned to you before about Alan Hardesty, people like that. There were quite a few other great rugby league players that could so easily have got in as well. And the selection process in the end was just done on that basis. I've said to you before, it was based on my experiences. But I suppose I could have looked at a few more footballers as well. I could have looked at someone like Peter Lorimer. I've always had a high regard for. Nice chap. And I also have a real regard for Stuart McCall of Bradford City as well, because I think he distinguished himself during the Bradford City fire and has come back and is doing a great job there with Bradford City at the moment.
He's doing it the right way as well, starting down at the bottom.
Exactly. Nice guy.
If we look then at the way things are at the moment with Yorkshire just avoided relegation, hopefully things looking good for them. They've got some good young players coming through as well.
They have fantastic players. There's a real excitement about here. Funnily enough, I don't think relegation would have been the end of the world, because the Yorkshire public would have been annoyed, but the reality is that the same people would have come to support them year after year. There's still a hard core of 2,500 who watch county championship cricket, wherever Yorkshire play and always will do. But there is a buzz about this place at the moment, and I'm relieved that haven't gone down. But look at who they've got. You know, they've got fast bowler, this double barrel name, was it something Dolby, isn't it? Harrison Dolby, whatever. They've got Johnny Bairstow. What a player he's going to be. I mean, I eulogised about him, and Boyks told me the other day, this lad's going to play for England inside the next 2 years. I think he'll be playing for them next year. I think he's got so much talent.
It'll be a great tribute to his father as well.
Ah, great, yeah, but I think he's better than his dad, and his dad's one of my heroes. But I think Johnny's a better player. He's a better batter, certainly, much better batsman, and I'm told he's a better wicketkeeper as well. And he's got such a lovely mum who supported him, and a lovely sister as well. No, they're great. He's a great lad, is Johnny, and I'm going to really push him as much as I can, Richard, I'll tell you.
Certainly we need a wicketkeeper who can stay in the team. It's just something that they keep chopping and changing.
Well, they don't give him a chance at wicketkeeper, and I don't know why that is. I mean, they've obviously got a couple of talented wicketkeepers themselves, but there is a feeling that, I know it sounds strange, that the wicketkeeping role is not that important in one sense. It used to be key, you know, when you look at David Bairstow and you look at Jimmy Binks before him. He was one that nearly got in as well, Jimmy Binks, by the way. So you look at all these people and you think, well, yeah, they're good. And the wicket-keeping role in county championship cricket doesn't seem to be as key as it is, strangely, in one day when you've got to be really on the top of your game.
And then in Rugby League, Yorkshire dominating the Super League, which is always good to see, and Leeds going for a third successive title this week.
I can't see anybody beating Leeds. Certainly can't see St Helens doing it. I think they've got the hex on them when it comes to finals. The only way St Helens can probably rattle Leeds is, I did see a sign that I thought St Helens' defence was a lot better against Wigan than it has been in recent weeks, if they've got that part of the game together. But my theory is this: yes, Catalan bashed up Leeds a bit, but I think Wigan bashed up St Helens more, and I think Leeds will take advantage in that regard.
I think that was a great decision, putting those two teams together. I don't know if that was the theory or whether they just wanted Catalans, but that was a fantastic game.
I think it was a no-brainer for me. You know, if you've got a prospect of Saints against Wigan, which is probably the fiercest rugby league derby of all, you've got to put them together and hope that they come out walking on splints at the end of it, and that's probably what happened, really.
And we've got Wakefield's Academy just winning the championship, which was good for them. And it's good to see hopefully more youth players coming through, especially with the quota system change, although I can't get my head around the rules necessarily, but it'd be good to see an England or Great Britain or however we play team be able to compete against the Australians time and time again, because it's something that I've never seen.
Yeah, well, it's a kind of football situation, isn't it, when you look at it. Too many Australians playing in the game over here, in my opinion. I've never gone on any other decision other than that, and the same is there's too many international stars playing in the Premiership. Wakefield do a great job, and I have to say, you know, if anybody has my admiration as a coach, it's John Keir. He's a great guy, John Keir, and the club is a great club, and I'll tell you why it's a great club. It's had to cope with 2 tragedies in the last year, and it has coped with distinction, with integrity, and everybody at that rugby club deserves to be appreciated, because they do a great job with limited resources. Let's be honest, you know, they can't compete with the big guys, but they do a good job, and they've got a top guy at the top there with John Keir.
And it's good to see, Castleford getting into the playoffs as well, and Featherstone just missing out.
And Castleford, yeah. I mean, the biggest question that they've got to, of course, decide on is both clubs, you know, about new grounds and whatnot. I don't know how far down the road they are. There's even a suggestion, is there not, of sharing, but I'm not going to go down that because that would probably get me lynched.
It's a bit of a hot potato, that one. It certainly is. Just going back to the book again, finally. If there was one person you could watch again, or one a group of people in a team, who would it be and why?
I would like to go and watch the Yorkshire cricket team in their pomp during the 60s. Really watch them play again together. And I'd like them to play, that team, I'd like them to play the current county champions, and they would annihilate them. They would annihilate them.
On uncovered pictures, or the picture of
any pictures? Any pictures, they would annihilate them. They just look at the strength of that side from all the way down the line, you know. Oh, what a team that was. And I just love to see it. I just love to see the rest of them grovel.
I guess when people read this book, there's going to cause some arguments.
I hope so.
People who've not
I hope so. I hope the argument is, oh, that's a strange choice, or that's a controversial choice, and so on and so forth. But that's what I've done it for. A bit of debates, a bit of fun as well. It also covers some of the favourite grounds that I've been to. Some of them have gone, like Bramall Lane Cricket, Park Avenue, Bradford, where I first watched my sport. And I've also covered in the book some of the sports that's still going in Yorkshire but nowhere else. So I've tried to cover quite a few things. It's been such good fun. I've really enjoyed it.
I can imagine some of the old grounds. I mean, you look at Bellevue now, and it's it's not changed much in.
No, and and it needs to. It needs to in the context of. Excuse me. It needs to change in the context of Super League, because they want all the grounds to be on a similar standard. But I always think the same. When I go to Castleford, I think that's a rugby league ground for me. When I go to Hull FC, KC, I love the ground, but it's a football ground, isn't it? Initially, and so that's why I'm a great believer in trying to keep the traditions strong and stick in the heartland and try and keep the grounds to reflect what the sport's all about.
Yeah, somehow building a new stadium without it being a soulless box.
Well, many of them are. You look at football grounds now. You go to Derby County, you go to Darlington, you go to Bolton. They're all the same. Yes, they're comfortable. Yes, they're good to watch, but I'd rather have something with a bit of character, a bit of personality.
Yeah, nothing beats getting wet at Bellevue.
I'm not sure about that. I used to get absolutely soaked. I mean, when I first started my radio days, we used to have a trek around the grounds to do. I used to do on a Thursday night. I used to start off at Castleford. I used to go on to Wakefield. Then I used to go. No, so it's Castleford, Featherstone, Wakefield, and then if I'd got time, I used to head home and do Dewsbury. That was my Thursday night roundup for the rugby league programmes over the weekend. Great fun, great time.
Better now in the summer than it will be in the winter.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure easier to cover. But of course, the other side of things now is that when I was first started in broadcasting, we used to go and meet these people. We didn't do it on telephone. Most of them do it on telephones and ISDN kits and whatnot now. We used to meet them face to face. That's where we got the stories.
That's the difference. Harry, thank you very much.
Lovely. Nice to see you.